Welcome to the Cherry Picker After Dark, the Patreon exclusive horror movie podcast where we like to kill people, but not really. I'm your host, Zack Cherry, and with me, as always, is...
There was no pain, no fear, no doubt, till they pulled me out of heaven. So that's my refrain. I live in hell 'cause I've been expelled from heaven. I think I was in heaven. Eddie of Edward's Truth.
If this gets us demonetized on YouTube...
It's a Patreon exclusive. Come on.
That's true. But yes, hello. Welcome in. If you are watching this on YouTube, just know that this is part of our monthly bonus, the Patreon exclusive, the After Dark, yada, yada, yada. So we will be running a preview of this episode, but if you do wish to watch the full thing, go over to my Patreon, Zack Cherry, and subscribe there on the Freddy Krueger tier or higher, and you will get access to this episode as well as all of our back catalog of Cherry Picker After Dark episodes, which includes the first 5 seasons that we covered of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And what is so funny, Edward?
Are you fighting a yawn or something? Or are you just doing Alicia Witt? You just and if you'd like to subscribe to our Patreon, I don't know. It just sounds like a radio announcer. It's different.
And here we are. I thought I was on a really good momentum there, and now you're making
great.
me.
It's just
now you're making me feel insecure.
That's what I'm here for.
Absolutely. I mean, are you? Is that what you do? But yes. Anyway,
Sure.
This is season 6. We've covered seasons 1 through 5, where we've gone through the entire seasons and we've ranked the episodes separately. If you are watching this, because there is obviously the audio preview as well, you will see this huge tier list in the middle. one part of it is for Edward and one part of it is for myself, because we cannot agree on anything.
No. Well, sometimes we can, but not enough to sustain a ranking.
We did the first season shared, and there was a lot of compromising and a lot of fighting.
Should have been subtitled "The Compromise."
Yeah.
The Compromise Picker.
And from seasons 2 on, we're just like, no, we gotta streamline this a little bit better, because that's a half a season, and it's still, that episode was really long. But here we are, season 6 now, and I'm excited because this has probably been one of my favorite seasons so far. And
this is my favorite season.
Is it your favorite season? Wow.
Yes.
I think that it's different from what we had seen before. And just as a background, we've both seen this show before. We're not watching this for the first time, but it's been a while since we've both seen it, or at least since I've seen it. But it's very different from kind of like the energy, I would say, that like was there in seasons, especially 4 and 5, because 1 to 3 is its own thing, and then the college years were something different. And I feel like maybe it's part of the move from the WB to the UPN at the time, or the fact that Joss Whedon kind of stepped down as the main showrunner, because I believe Marty Noxon kind of took his spot. I don't even remember like what he was doing at that time, that he wasn't full-time. Maybe it had something to do with people just being sick and tired.
Was it Firefly or something like that?
Maybe. Well, Firefly coincided with Buffy season 7 and Angel season 4.
Okay.
So maybe
but if
it was
takes time to prepare, you know, he probably had a lot of pre-production prior to
and
that.
I never watched Firefly. I saw the movie Serenity, but it seemed like one of those shows that was probably like, it looked like it was probably expensive. It would have required a lot of planning, but I think maybe it just more so had something to do with like balancing Buffy and Angel at the time, and who knows, maybe he was working on a movie. I don't know, don't care. I mean, not that I don't care, because I did bring up the question, but I know, like, especially like, because I really enjoyed season 5, but I think from what my biggest takeaway from that season was that, you know, it kind of delved into like kind of a Twin Peaksy thing where it was like getting very bizarre but kind of quirky as well.
Sure.
But it was not consistent, and there were really great episodes. Like I think like season 5 is full of some of the best episodes of the series, and I wouldn't say that like any like I already forget like most of this rewatch that we've done, but I wouldn't say that there was any like terrible episodes in season 5, or at least like enough to really like bring it down. But there were definitely peaks and valleys where it just felt like the momentum was thrown off, especially in the like the finale, like towards the finale, because it was sort of, remember the whole thing with the knights and all that shit.
Definitely.
And
can't ever forget that.
And we'll talk about like the last stretch of episodes here, like with this finale. But I just think that this season is like the most consistent season of the show. It's the most focused that I feel like it has ever been, and I think that one thing is that I don't think any episode, I mean, other than the musical, absolutely, like there might be another one here or there, I'll let you know, but there wasn't any like big standout episodes. It just felt like a really long, cohesive story arc of just like the whole season. And that's why I don't know if this is going to be easier or more difficult to rank because of that, because I don't look at this and sort of like, oh, that episode and that episode. It was more just like kind of like, okay, here's this like entire season 6 journey.
Right. I mean, of course, I premeditated my rankings, so I knew while I was going through it, I had to start being really, really rough on the episodes because I didn't want to idealize the season. And, you know, when you move through it, it's easier to kind of like take things as they are as opposed to as you remember them.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be really, really hard and not, because there was so many times I'd be like, well, I just want to put them all in the top tier. But, you know, that's not an interesting ranking. And also then it's still a ranking, but it's all just like a ranking within the first tier. And that's going to become overstuffed and hard to look at. And I don't know, I just thought like, okay, just grade on a curve that, you know, doesn't boost, that isn't in the season's favor, you know, do it, try to like pick these apart. And if there are things that strike me as kind of like weak links or anything like that, that aren't kind of like serened by some, you know, for me through by some kind of like big gesture or something that, you know, kind of like overrides all the mistakes, you know, that could be made. You know, let it sink, you know, a little lower in the list. So I mean, it's still, well, you'll see.
I'm very interested to see, or just like look out for the allowances that you make, because you say that now, but then I can still envision you being like, oh, I just love this one so much. But having said that, do you actually want to run through, as we've done with past seasons, you've made up names for the tiers based on specific quotes from episodes.
Absolutely.
So they're actually right in front of us, but for people listening.
All right. It's always fun to start from the top and work your way down. So the top tier, cream of the crop, is a quote from Joyce from Normal Again. You've got a world of strength in your heart. Which is, you know, like, yeah, you were it, you know, episode.
Yeah. Just
below that, tier 2 is a quote from Anya from the Double Meat Palace episode. This is why demons are better than people. And because I feel like it almost boldly declares about the show. See, this is an example of why demons are better than people. More entertaining, more fun to write for, all of that. Just below that, third tier, we have a quote from Spike from Once More with Feeling. Life isn't bliss, life is just this, period. And, because, you know, it's what it is.
It's living.
It's fine. Yeah, it's living. It's living.
Okay, you're going to get us.
And then you can't, I almost made it past and then you continued, so it's your fault. I'm blaming you. The fourth tier, below that, we have a quote from Xander from Afterlife. We made a demon? Bad us. It's almost like, you know, oh, we made a mistake? Slap on the hand.
Yeah.
And then just below that, the only quote from Buffy in the tier list from Bargaining, the premiere episode, is this hell? And I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Fair enough. I kind of take umbrage with you choosing the Joyce, You've Got a World of Strength in Your Heart as the number one pick, because of the ambiguity of that episode, because it's just like, this is might be some trickery. It's almost like the opening credits of this season. You know how like the final shot is like of Buffy usually, but like it's the Buffy Bot. I don't know if we mentioned that before. Well, I don't know if we could have, because this is specific to this season. But every time that comes up, because when I would watch these episodes, I will watch them all the way through, like with the credits, and I kept seeing that, and it might have been on Ryan C. Shower's podcast. Someone mentioned that, because he talks about Buffy a lot. And now that that I heard that, whether it was like from you or there, that's all I see, and it's just like, that's not Buffy. I'm like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, just like, no, it's not her.
I can't. No, see, okay, we can't spend a lot of time on this because we got to get to the episodes, but I will say that never bothered me, because I remember in that moment, like the first time she's revealed that way, I think, oh, that's Buffy. And I don't know, there's something about like the fact that it's Buffy, it's the visage of Buffy. It's Sarah Michelle with her hair swept back in a very kind of like unglamorous, practical way. She's got like a baseball tee and a leather pleather jacket. Okay,
first of all, like she is glamorous all the time, even when supposedly...
Unglamorous for her. I'm not saying... Oh, God. All right, can we move on to the episodes? We can't argue about that.
So the first one we got here is Bargaining, and this is technically 2 episodes, but we're just grouping it into one. If you want, I mean, I might differentiate, which half of the episode I like better, because I think in re-airings it's aired separately as part 1 and part 2. But this is essentially the episode where Willow, Tara, Xander, and Anya resurrect Buffy. She claws her way out of the grave and is brought back to life. Giles has left town, and Dawn and Spike's looking after Dawn most of the time because nobody else is. And it's and demons are running amok in Sunnydale. So
and the Scoobies are doing their best, but like they've got the Buffy Bot because they don't want too many of the demons to know that Buffy's MIA, even though she's got a tombstone with her name on it.
Thank you. That's what I was gonna ask you about. Like, what's with that? But I guess it doesn't matter.
I guess they figure like they roam in the cemeteries so often that tombstones don't much interest them. They're probably like billboards. Like maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't. Yeah. But
that's fair.
But I mean, one thing I appreciated in the establishment of that is just Willow kind of like as the GPS, working with the magic, standing above them all on the top of a mausoleum, letting them know with her mind where vampires are or various other demons. I dug that. Yeah. Also, like Anya struggling with planting seeds here. Xander's hesitancy to share the news of their nuptials and everything like that. The first quote I wrote down for the season was just, "This whole marriage thing was your stupid idea. I didn't ask to be all crazy." And I don't know. She's, again, Anya, the truth teller. Yeah. The absolute, like, no filter necessary as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. We really needed her this season in particular. Yeah. I'm glad she was around. So.
That opening scene in particular, it was Tara who actually stood out to me, because she just came in and she looked really hot. She had that. She kind of had like a Buffy wardrobe. Like she had this long red leather jacket and just exposed midriff. Like Amber Benson. Like she's always been gorgeous, but like especially in this season, like she just really just like was like what's the word I'm looking for? We'll just say she was a sex pot, and
and my sister always attributed that, because she said, my sister noticed, I remember when we would discuss this particular season, because it was the first UPN one, she always brought to my attention, because I didn't really notice, but she said like they UPN'd them, like they all kind of look like glamorous, even more glamorous, because they always looked glamorous. I don't want to you know trigger you again, but they all look like freshly sprayed hair, beautiful impeccable makeup and stuff like that. Even Xander, I was kind of going, hello. In the beginning, in the opening episode, I was just kind of like,
in the beginning, and then like throughout the season, he gets like sweatier and like not looking great. But
you can tell the craft services is around, and he's probably.
But was that okay? But is that like just like real? Like is that Nicholas Brendan in real life, or did you think that was like a character choice? Because there was a lot of we would see like the pre-wedding jitters, like he was like eating a lot more. That it kind of contributed to that. So maybe they wrote it in, or he was just like method, like I'm just gonna eat.
I mean, it didn't hurt. Like maybe it's. I know back on Cheers when Kirstie Alley started putting pounds on, they incorporated it into the script. So maybe they did the same thing for Nicholas Brendan here. I don't know. It worked. It worked for me. And it's not. It doesn't make him unattractive by any means, but it's kind of noticeable. He's just a little doughier by the time we reach the end of the season. And,
It's funny that you also mentioned the Willow kind of communicating with everyone telepathically. And the question, because this came up, it was just like sort of the inconsistency of the canon. Because remember in Earshot, when Buffy had like developed the telepathic powers, and then she was trying to read Angel's mind, and Angel's like, you can't read vampires' minds, or whatever it was. So I think it was funny that like Willow is like communicating with Spike, and it's just like, are you people not paying attention? Come on. Unless like Willow's powers like somehow
are divined from another source, probably. That's all I thought. But I did also appreciate, again, planting seeds. Willow explaining why they don't include Giles, Spike, or Dawn in their plot to bring Buffy back, because she knows they're all the ones who could potentially be the naysayers, even though she's totally wrong about Spike but doesn't know it. But she just says they might not understand, with the perfect excuse for you hiding, your decisions, because they might be irresponsible and they might be reckless and might have dire consequences.
I mean, this is pretty much, this is like a big, like this whole season is such a huge season for Willow, obviously. But I mean, like in the opening in particular, one thing that I forgot about was that she killed the deer. And when that scene came on, I was just like mortified. It's like, she just killed Bambi. She's basically the villain in Bambi.
Well, and I love the contrast because it's set up. She looks particularly ethereal. I mean, I'm sorry to just spend so much time talking about everybody's, visage, but she looks so beautiful in the offset of that scene. She's wearing the lightest colors we've seen her wear in a long time. She's usually wearing big, bright, sassy colors. And in walks this little baby deer, and then the spurt of blood upon her and everything like that. I loved the stark contrast of the vibe at the top of that scene and then at the end of the scene, because I was scared of Willow after that.
Yeah, Willow is not my favorite throughout the first half of this season, and we'll get more into that as we go along through these episodes. But just like this episode in general for me, like it's not one of my, it might be my least favorite of the season premieres, and it's just kind of, I get that it's like there's plot happening. We have to get through these things, and I definitely prefer the first half of this episode to the second half, probably because of Giles being there. You'll probably love this because we've already designated Giles as like the token Virgo of the group, and it's like once the Virgo leaves, everything falls apart. That's just how it goes. But
I mean, he did get hit on the head and taken out of the equation quite a bit in the seasons that preceded.
He always did. Yeah, so, absolutely. But I don't mean like in terms of just like the more like the stakes and all that, but just more of like the emotions of like the characters, like because he is kind of like this core for like he's the dad. But I mean, it's just there was more characters in the. I mean, Buffy obviously is not in the first half of this episode. She doesn't really come in until the second, except the fact that you have the Buffy Bot, which I mean, Sarah just playing the nuances of like different versions of the character is it's fantastic. So it's not like she's not in the first part of the episode, but I think just because they're kind of dealing with a lot of the like the emotions of it and like kind of faking Buffy being the Buffy Bot, like trying to pretend to like nothing can go wrong. We have to make sure that like Dawn is properly taken care of and brought to school and all that shit. I think the thing that just brings like kind of takes this episode down for me is sort of like the lame monster of the week thing, because it just like it. They didn't feel necessary to just have this like biker gang of demons come in. Like they didn't really add anything. They weren't nuanced or textured in any way. It was just sort of like a vampire finds out that Buffy is not alive anymore, and then all of a sudden these demons decide like let's run amok, and it just felt like a complication to screw up the spell or whatever, make you think that it happened. And it was like the last half of the episode or the second part was all just like this bullshit with them, and it was frustrating because it's just like, Buffy, like, just get on with it. And then the whole scene at the tower at the end went on forever, and I was just like, okay, just let's move it along. So I
can see your point.
Yeah.
I can see your point there.
I personally...
I don't agree.
No, that's fine. I personally will put this in Life Isn't Bliss, Life Is Just This, because, I mean, it's giving me Buffy, but it's just, like, it's not... It hasn't hit its stride in the first episode. And not that, like, the premieres usually do that, because that's... season premieres are... hard to set up, but with this one in particular, just like there was a lot of baggage that needed to be unpacked.
Right. I think I reacted to it in a more visceral sense than you did. I felt connected to. I mean, I love that they reintroduced like something they planted all the way back in season 1. One of Buffy's nightmares was being buried alive in a coffin, and here she is waking up and having to punch her way out of it.
Yeah.
I loved that. I love that. I mean, I loved in a way that I hated that Willow had to vomit a snake. The only thing I really kind of hated, I loved the reintroduction of the gift theme when they're on the tower. So there's a lot of things that just evoked a huge reaction to me. The only big thing that I found fault with, and it bothers me every time I watch this episode, is what did they bury Buffy in? Like, it's basically a big black nightshirt with a belt cinched around it and the most uncomfortable looking heels in the history of the world. So that was it. But her watching the Buffy Bot's execution, it hit me. So I think it's stronger. I put it in. This is why demons are better than people.
All right.
So that's my placement for it.
Awesome.
Worked for me.
Now the next episode is Afterlife. And this one feels like it could have been a part 3. I don't know if you feel the same way, because it's like the same night. I mean, we do kind of like get into like the next day, and it like kind of takes place over like 2 days or so. But this one has always felt to me just like it could have been bargaining part 3.
I mean,
so
it's a continuity based serial.
Essentially,
so, yeah.
the plot of this episode is that like the quote is that in bringing Buffy back, it created a demon, and now it's trying to kill Buffy.
I mean, I had forgotten so much of the imagery and how kind of like almost Evil Dead it goes, with like Anya dragging the knife down her face with the white eyes and everything.
Yeah.
I forgot about the skull photos. And like the angry apparition Buffy accusing Willow and Tara and everything like that. I had forgotten all of that. So I mean, there were some things that I did enjoy about it. I mean, also just how often do I feel like Buffy in my own life in this particular episode, just kind of vacant, double parked, near monosyllabic answers to questions, like sincere inquiries about the way I am.
But again, like Sarah Michelle Gellar like pulls off like just like her performance throughout everything in the season is like, because she has to act on so many different levels in each episode, essentially, that it's just like it's like crazy. Why is she not a bigger star today than she was back then? But she's
coming back, and we love her. Every time she comes back, it's like, oh yay! It's just about the right project, and she's still in there punching. So good for her.
Yeah.
And also, there's like, isn't Hulu picking up that 10-episode arc reboot of Buffy where she's going to pass the torch to another Slayer or something? That's going to be interesting. I wonder if it's going to be related to the comics at all. But anyway,
I'm not too sure.
Yeah. With regards to this, even though I also appreciate kind of like witnessing the moment where Buffy kind of makes the decision to commit to the lie that they saved her, and she's just kind of having a hard time adjusting.
The ending of this episode is it's one of the defining moments of this season. But it's like, to me, it's like really the only like great part of this episode, because this is another like kind of middling episode too for me, because it's still kind of carrying on the story of the last two. I don't feel that the spirit demon obviously is not a threat to Buffy. Like, it's just like that was something that it was easily defeated. I would have liked it to have like maybe played more so on her fragile emotions at that point, because it was just really. Again, it's just like business as usual. And it's just like you just crawled out of the grave, and now we've got the first threat that you're faced with is a non-threat. Like, it was just sort of, not the best writing.
Yeah, after for me, bargaining was especially poignant, and then this one kind of sunk like a stone a little bit. So I do agree with you. It felt ultimately necessary, just not favorite material for me.
Yeah.
So I put it on the third tier. Life is just this.
Okay.
Life isn't bliss.
That's interesting because I actually liked this better than bargaining. Like not,
of course,
not by like just by a hair. Just because it was like I felt like we were. Bargaining is very dark. And not to say that I don't like dark things, but I felt like by the end of this episode, just sort of like that scene that we talked about with Buffy sitting in like kind of like the harsh light of day, not to quote a previous Buffy episode, and just confiding in Spike about that. It was just sort of like the light on her and just saying how everything is so bright and hard, and it's like this juxtaposition of what we just came from and being like, this is the bad thing. This is what it is, but it's just like that's really the moment where the season kind of becomes more clear, and that's the focus that we carry on for the next 20 episodes or 19 episodes or so. So yeah, I would say that it's still Life Isn't Bliss, but like above bargaining. Okay. There was two other notes I made here. Like again, like Tara, she says something very profound about the sunrise. She's having this like conversation with Xander, and I don't know what I really love Tara in this season.
Me too.
And she's always got the stutter comes in and out sometimes, which is great. But
particularly like chosen, like this deliberate moments on the writer's part. I love that.
And then the last note I had is just more of a question, but like, what was Willow wearing in the last scene? It looked like a bath mat or something.
Every now and then there's like a fashion don't.
There's a lot with Willow throughout this series. It's just
I mean, they tried to save it in the body when she's like, why do all my clothes have such stupid things on them? I guess she's adrift. She's just as lost as everybody else.
Absolutely. So the next episode is Flooded, and this is kind of first of all, this is the episode we're introduced to the big bad of the season, as it were, which was the trio, but it's also kind of like it introduces sort of like the other big bad, like more of like the subtextual big bad, which is adulthood, life, depression,
reality,
and just like sort of like the
money.
Exactly, just the idea of like shit, like I'm now an adult, my mom's gone. How do we sustain this? Like, I guess all the money was spent. They never really clarify. It's never really made absolutely clear what happened to the money while Buffy was dead. Because there's like, in one scene they're saying about like, well, like funeral costs and yada yada yada. But then in another one, like Buffy's just like said something else. Like it was almost like very like pointed that like someone, like I don't know if it was like Willow or Dawn or someone who kind of frivolously just like spent money on other stuff. So I guess it's not important, but I thought it was very curious.
I mean, it's not even a question for me, because in my own life I understand how you can have money and then a day goes by and you're like, I had money this morning. What the fuck happened? Yeah. It just goes places. There's that great quote that Tennessee Williams wrote for Streetcar Named Desire. Money goes. It just goes places. Yeah. It's deceptively simple, but it's true. I also really this was like kind of like the first moment I started kind of, even though because I revel in the darkness of this season, but I also revel in the moments that feel a little bit more on brand for Buffy in the sense that the levity and the style of the.
It definitely came back in this episode.
Yeah, like Buffy, trying to kick the demon and then like realizing she can't because her skirt's too tight. She's like, stupid skirt. And then Willow pissing her off afterwards, after the whole skirt in the bank fiasco, trying to piss her off, and she's like, I'm trying to piss you off. Does it work? Yeah. Something like that. And I also, I love that the introduction of Jonathan and Warren, because of course we know who they are, and then Tucker's brother.
Who apparently sicked the flying monkeys on the school play. So was that the season 1 school play, like the puppet show?
No,
That's the only one
it wasn't anything. I don't think it was ever. I think the whole point is it was so unimportant that it didn't even flip on the series.
I get that was the point, but I like headcanon.
Oh, but was that the play?
Headcanoning, like the only play that we ever really saw was that. So I like to think that after like they slayed the demon and then they had to perform that thing where Willow ran off stage because she had stage fright. That's when the flying monkeys came in, and they're just like, how could this night get any worse?
Like right after the end sequence like cut out. That's when the flying monkeys came in.
Maybe
but
it was
they weren't
like,
important enough to include.
It was in the middle of Cordelia's cover of The Greatest Love of All. So actually, it was the school considered it a blessing. But
right, so nobody was really disappointed about that. No, yeah, that would have been hilarious.
But no, I definitely agree with what you're saying. Like, this is sort of like Buffy kind of, even though like emotionally she's not there, but she's starting to fake it. She's putting on the act for everyone that she's okay.
Sure.
And there's so many, I mean, not so many, but there's some great moments, like some of the funniest moments in this episode. I mean, first of all, like Anya being like, start charging. And
right.
The Spider-Man.
Again, analogy. Reality.
Yeah.
The arguing about
action
about
is
Spider-Man
his
charging.
Reward. But also the I guess like the heavy of this episode, whatever that demon was, coming in, and yet again we've got the Summers home being destroyed by some random demon, and just
this time Buffy's adulting.
She's adulting, but I love the line of just like, you cost me, Slayer. I cost you? That was a designer lamp, you mook.
Well, she's trying to salvage the bric-a-brac and the furniture as she slays.
Yeah, which might be one of my favorite Buffy quips of the series. So, yes, I love that she's like back. She's back on brand with that. There's also there is another great moment, which is the Willow and Giles argument.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go on.
That's all I have. I don't really have much to like delve into there, other than it's like foreshadowing. But it was a great moment.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the place that they come from, because he's not just speaking to her from Giles' POV at that particular point. He was Ripper. He knows what it is to be young and reckless and irresponsible, and to, dabble in some arts that are, darker than you could even imagine at that particular point. Even after everything Willow has seen and done, I love how scared he is, and I wrote down the line because it is one of the most memorable moments of this episode and of this season. Willow saying, "I'm very powerful, and maybe it's not such a good idea for you to piss me off." Yeah. That is the first time we see her kind of step to him and challenge his authority over her. Yeah. And then immediately kind of shrug it off and try to meet some kind of common ground. But I think the first time I saw it, I just thought, oh, Willow. And now every time I watch it, knowing where we land, I'm like, there it is. That's the first rock, the first pebble that starts an avalanche,
The only other note I had about this episode is the fact that there's some very awkward that thing at the end with Angel calling, but just because it's like the shows are on two different networks, it's like, he knows I'm alive. We've got to go. And I mean, I think that there was the episode in Angel where he finds out, and it was like a similar thing, and that's why they're like, are you going to LA? No. We're meeting somewhere in the middle, because that scene is never seen. It's never shown to us. So it's just like the handle. I don't
mind them having some privacy.
I mean, that's fine. I didn't need to see that scene, but I just like it's interesting, just sort of like the dynamics of handling anything. Because I mean, obviously they cleared it up in the next season because there was crossovers going on then over the networks. Sure. They figured out whatever they had to do, but here especially,
it took a season.
Here especially, it was just like, oh wow, okay, so I mean, where do you put this? I'm still thinking.
For me, I put it, because even though we're laughing and having a great time, it's still not like quite favorite territory for me. It's perfectly serviceable, so I put it above. What's the name of it? Afterlife in third tier. Life isn't bliss. Life is just this.
Okay. And I really enjoy this episode.
Yeah.
I'll put it. Everything's going in life isn't bliss. Life isn't. It's just this. But I'll put it above Afterlife as well.
Okay.
And if I have to move it later, I will. But our next episode is Life Serial, and it's kind of this is like almost like this is where it starts to like the episodes just kind of like bleed into each other for the most part, because I feel it's like the same thing. Now she's going out and she's working after realizing that she needs to get a job. She needs money. So we're just seeing her go through a series of all these jobs that are kind of being thwarted because the trio have taken it upon themselves to decide that they are her nemesis. And nemesis. But yeah, just put her through all these trials just as like kind of a game to start. Like they're keeping tally, but this is another episode. I feel like it's really funny. The moment that the whole set piece of the mummy hand is like one of the most comedic things of the entire series. But my favorite part especially is when she grabs Giles' glasses out of his hand and just throws them down on the floor and stomps on them. And just the constant like throwing of the candle at the guy. What was like slug?
Oh yeah,
slug essence.
And then when she finally breaks down, the jump cut to her just weeping, just shoulders going, full breakdown. And it's that was actually the buffiest sequence yet, I think, of this entire season. Jonathan looping her, but I also, given the attacks that they make on her, I remember I couldn't quite figure out the logistics of Warren's little device. I didn't even write down the details. I just remember kind of going, so what does it do? So and somebody explain it to me if you know what's going on. DM me on Instagram. I'll let you know how later. But and also Andrew's little greasy debris monsters that just kind of evaporate after she takes care of them and everything like that, so she ends up looking like a crazy person, and they make that horrible comment about her time of the month. God, sexism is also kind of like, again, reality, but kind of like replete. It's a recurring theme throughout this season too.
But I mean, it's still statements being made by the villains, so the heavies. The lights. I mean, within reason, but because we also get drunk Buffy, and I mean like not that we haven't had that before, because we did get that terrible. You really liked it, Beer Bad. In season 4.
I love Beer Bad. Beer Bad.
No, just like the Buffy, like, when she went to kick the demon or whatever, just like completely, or I guess it was Jonathan in disguise, just like completely like missed the mark. But also the kittens is currency in the demon poker.
Yes, kitten poker. A neutered vampire who cheats at kitten poker. I love that line.
Yeah, and that those cats they didn't get away. They were eaten.
Yeah, by somebody. I mean, there were too many demons around. But I wanted to ask you, because I know that you're, a 007 fan. What did you feel? Did you feel like the favorites assigned to each character? Because it was Sean Connery was the favorite for Warren, Roger Moore was the favorite for Jonathan, and Timothy Dalton was the favorite for Andrew. Does that check out? Like as far as like an almost Zodiac assignment for them?
You're gonna make me guess their zodiac signs? Well, no, I was. It's
no.
But no. I get it. It's interesting that you, because I did make the note of like the James Bond, which is the best one, because I mean like Sean Connery is the first James Bond, and like those films were very sexist. For what they represent. Like Roger Moore kind of like came in and he had this more like debonair quality to him, and he was more of a gentleman. Like he didn't hit women like the same way that Sean Connery did. That there are early Roger Moore movies where he did, and then they're just like, this feels very awkward. Let's not have him do that anymore. And then Timothy Dalton, because wasn't it Andrew who chose Timothy Dalton?
Yes.
The thing with Andrew is like he's just kind of like a punchline. Like it's just like the is he or isn't he homosexual? Yeah. So the Timothy Dalton things just seems to be more like, so there's just like he thought he was hot. But I get it. I don't really like put a correlation between them. I think that like all three of the James Bonds that they mentioned, like they all have merit to them, and there's they're movies that I mean I love all, not all, but most of the James Bond movies. So yeah, I don't really know beyond that what I would say, but if we want to decide zodiac signs, I'm game for it.
that I wasn't asking. If you want to go there, go for it. Only other thing I can say about this episode is second example, because the first one was in Flooded, where Buffy tells Giles at the end of the episode, and they're putting the house back together, and she leaves. She's just like, thanks for taking care of this for me. At the end of this one, he gives her the check, and I love the intent from Giles, and I love the way Buffy receives it, yet at the same time, I had forgotten how many episodes Buffy just kind of leans on him, like really without any. It's not obliquely. There's nothing. It like even just kind of like inferring that it's no. It is full on like right there, front and center in the camera. Buffy is like washing her hands of responsibility and putting it on Giles over. I think
it started in what episode is it that follows directly after the body in season 5? Forever. I'd have to dig the one where Dawn tries to resurrect Joyce. Yeah, because there was like a whole thing there where Buffy was like obviously just like could not even, and Giles was just like, all right, I'll take care of it. So it's just like kind of planting.
But this is major.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it starts becoming a really recurring thing, like a default setting for Buffy.
I would put this episode in. This is why demons are better than people.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Again, this is when I was telling myself, like, okay, don't rank anything too high. So I put it, and I feel sincere about this. I feel like it kind of belongs also mid-tier. Life Isn't Bliss, Life Is Just This, just above Afterlife.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the next episode we have is All the Way. This is kind of a Dawn-centric / Halloween themed episode, and it's I don't even like. Is there even like a plot to this episode? It's just sort of like there's vampires. Aww. I was getting like kind of a reference to Night of the Demons with the old man with the sinister plan, but that was kind of a red herring because we don't see him at all afterwards until like the end of the movie. But like this episode, it just sort of like I loved all the stuff at the Magic Box with like Anya and her like Charlie's angel, like I'm an angel.
I know, so cute. It'd be glamorous and on roller skates and fight crimes. Like, oh, so cute.
Yeah,
she looked gorgeous. Again,
and the money dance and or the capitalist, whatever she calls it. Like all that is fun, but I just feel like it's just one of those episodes that it feels like the energy of it feels very early Buffy, in the middle of like very complex themes of Buffy, that it just kind of it's just there,
Okay, I disagree, but I will say, well, I mean, because this is the thing. As far regarding the dawn of it all and everything like that, I find, and we'll really unpack this as we move through the season, but in this particular episode, one thing that I embraced was, number one, the introduction of Amber Tamblyn, who also plays Sarah Michelle Gellar's sister in the Grudge franchise.
Oh, that's true.
But yeah.
Well, you say introduction. This is her only episode.
Well, she's still being introduced. So anyway, being introduced as, and that I'll make that point later, but being introduced as Janice. The friend. Oh, because she's mentioned later, but she is.
They're always like, I'm going over to Janice's house because they at least like me there. Yeah.
But I had forgotten that Amber Tamblyn was ever even in this series, so that was a cool discovery. But one thing I really liked that again, it was an opportunity for Buffy to just kind of like defer to Giles, like just kind of like, I don't know, what do you think? You know, like I'm going to put it on you. But then like the fact that it was a Dawn-centric episode, but it wasn't one that seemed to kind of like rely on the things that annoyed me a lot about the way they handled that character in season 5, where she's kind of like, you know, just kind of stomping her feet and throwing a tantrum because, you know, not enough people are giving her what she wants. This one, but at the same time, she wasn't kind of like the character you would expect in the situation once the guys start making bad decisions on the face of it, like the red herring in and of itself of this episode with the old man. You think he's going to be the big bad, and they're all going into his house. It's like, why are they being so stupid? And yet Dawn is fully going along with it, and Janice is the one who's like, guys, I mean, come on, we are not going in that house. And Dawn's just kind of like, here we are, jump cut, and not objecting. I love that she's the idiot in the scenario. For some reason, it was refreshing to me. It was another kind of like turning a trope on its head. And I completely forgot that Justin and Zack, the guys who they're dating secretly, are vampires. I thought that was a really good misdirect. I forgot that Justin is I'm a huge fan of the rules, really of the Rules of Attraction book by Bret Easton Ellis, but in the movie, I liked a lot of the things that they did in the adaptation. And the Kavan Reese, the guy who plays Justin, is the handsome dunce. That's the name of his character, who Ian Somerhalder tries to hook up with in the first sequence of that movie. It was always memorable to me because cheekbones for days. Cheekbones for days. And he had them in this movie.
Yeah, I never forgot that they were vampires.
Oh, okay.
I forgot what the purpose of the old man was, but then I soon like kind of put it together. Oh, they're just gonna that is a misdirect. And they're gonna go there and kill him. Because I distinctly remember Dawn killing him with a pencil. In the end there, but yeah, it was just one of those episodes that was like, it was trying to be cute and funny, and it just like, it didn't work for me. Like there's the moment where there's all the vampires there, and Buffy's just like, did anyone just come here to make out? And there's like the people, like the couple, and they're like us, and they're just like,
right,
better run.
You're dismissed.
Just like, nothing about it really worked, other than just sort of like the story of like, you know, like the stuff at the magic box of just like moving things forward. But it's just, and I don't dislike Dawn. I was very vocal about that in season 5. But I was just bored by this episode. It didn't do anything for me. So I'm actually gonna say this is We Made a Demon Badass.
Okay. The only other things I'll bring up as quickly as possible are, I mean, I liked Dawn staking Justin, but what I really appreciated was the fight choreography when they were fighting a lot of the vamps, you know, like after the 2 makeout people are dismissed. There was something about it. I was just going, this is very kinetic, and I love the way they're capturing it. So I just wanted to just praise David Solomon, who directed this, and everybody on the crew, because I thought it was far more interesting to watch the fight than it needed to be, because it could have just been a disposable, you know, kick, punch, whatever. But I found it really kinetic. And then, of course, that we introduce Willow fucking with Tara's mind, the erasure of it, because Tara for the first time has brought up with Willow a question that I feel reverberates throughout the rest of the season. Another one where she says, why use magic when you can do something naturally, which I feel is the fundamental difference between Tara as a witch and Willow as a witch, her tendencies. Yeah. So I appreciated all of that. So I put it higher. I put it in the second tier. This is why demons are better than people. Just more entertaining.
All right. And this is above or below bargaining?
Good question. Let me look at my list. I put it all the way, just below.
Okay.
Bargaining.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, that's a good point. This is sort of like the introduction of the troubled waters for Willow and Tara. But before we move on to Once More with Feeling, let's cap the YouTube preview here. So for anyone that does want to check out the rest of the episode, you can go over to my Patreon, Zack Cherry, and you can support me and the podcast over there. We would greatly appreciate it, and you will get to watch the rest of this episode. But if not, thank you for watching this far, and we'll see you for next week's episode.